Hi, welcome to the show today. I am so excited for you guys to be here. This is the Born to Be Brave podcast, and we have Sue Dao here today. Sue, tell them a little bit about yourself, and let's jump right in. Let's tell them a little bit about yourself, and then I want to tell them what happened today at breakfast.
Okay. Well, thank you so much, Colleen, for inviting me onto your podcast. And hello, everyone. Good to see you today. Beautiful, sunny fall day. And a little about me. Gosh, I am a creative soul, creative person that really enjoys a lot of different things. I'm a learner, and I just absolutely adore learning. So my background is in healthcare. That's where I started my career in public health and healthcare, and had a stint doing different creative things. Now I'm an entrepreneur in real estate and coaching, and it just feels like I've come full circle.
It does feel like it, right? So what happened is we saw each other last night at a real estate meetup last night in Anaheim, California. And then we decided to have lunch today in Seal Beach, California. And then we were talking, we're like, this would be really good content, actually. We should be recording this. And so I'm like, well, what are you doing this afternoon? And so we decided to come here and make content. And so we were talking about people living below their means and their God-given talents. And maybe you're not guilty of that, but I've definitely lived below my God-given talent. And we're both maybe like in transition areas of our lives. And so we just thought we'd come on here and talk about possibilities and living a life you love, right? Making sure you're living a life you love and asking yourself the question, what would I love more often? And in fact, I was telling Sue, and really you should not compare yourself to other people, right? But I said, I really feel like when I was in Florida at the Clever Summit in Hollywood, Florida, at an investing summit, I wished, because Bridget Ruiz is my accountability partner. And she at Squad Up Summit, which was another Pace Morby event on investing and business building, she found her business partner and has found her niche. She's doing sober living houses in North Carolina. And she found her business partner. He's awesome. And I met him and spent a lot of time with him when I was in Florida. But I was thinking, gosh, I wish I could meet my person, and I wish I knew my niche and all these things. And so, and what were you saying about that?
Yeah, and this is where it feels like it comes full circle because we were chatting about different types of real estate business options. And one of them is co-living, assisted living, and just different ways of being able to offer housing opportunities. And so with a background in healthcare, that's where, I was talking about creating a community to house seniors and individuals with special needs. And then, you were sharing with me about, some other stories of Stephanie, where Stephanie was creating these housing places to help families, and young folks who are not able to find housing in other, environments where because they have a certain background, they don't qualify for a lot of these housing applications.
Where they have the income, but they can't qualify, right? Yeah.
So yeah, and that's sort of like, stream of consciousness. We were talking about all these different ideas of, how we can use our experiences and our background and, the different types of work that we've done in the past to be able to now use it towards helping others either through real estate or through coaching, because both of us, have done coaching. And so Colleen was sharing with me a little bit about the coaching that you were doing as well.
Yeah, isn't that interesting that we both have that similarity? Talk louder. Oh, Sue has to talk louder, John says.
Oh, I'm not talking loud enough. Okay.
And we have airplanes going by. It's the Huntington Beach Air Show.
Yes, it was amazing. I was driving up and I was like, wow, look at these fighter planes.
Yeah, they're going by. You can hear them about
Yeah.
1 second.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool, right? So
Yeah.
we're going to have Sue talk louder,
Okay.
and then I'm going to talk louder. And then what's interesting is a guy named Ryan Reese introduced me. He said, hey, there's a lady named Stephanie that I think you have similarities to, which is nice when you go network because you just don't know which connection is going to lead you to where. And that's why you got to put yourself out there, right? Because I met Ryan at WealthCon, and I was only at WealthCon for a very short amount of time, and met him and connected with him. And I think it's important after you meet people too to take the time to connect with them separate, not just in that space. And so we learned a little bit about each other. And I am very passionate about kids who have fostered in foster care who age out because they have no support system. Because I think that's a real bummer, right? You had a crappy childhood, and then now you're 18, poof, you're on your own, and there's no support for you. And then other things that are important to me is people who are homeless. A lot of people have become homeless that normally wouldn't be homeless, or have been in situations that traditional rental and property managers would not rent you because I think you have to have like 3 times the rent and really high FICO score. And so anyway, that's the disenfranchised are people who want to put their life back together. It's very hard when you're homeless to put your life back together. And so I'm very interested in that. And this lady named Stephanie, she just said she's doing that.
Yeah. Stephanie Gibson, right?
Yeah, Stephanie Gibson. And so I've never met her, but I talked to her this weekend. And
how this is also, sorry to interrupt you for a
no,
second. How this is so amazing is that I met Stephanie last year when I was at the Multify masterclass. And Stephanie and I were chatting about, some of the projects that she had undergoing during the time. And, it was just so incredible that here now Colleen knows Stephanie and she's also trying to, make a connection there. So
that's small world, right?
Super small world.
Yes. And she's bought, I think, 12 houses so far. And she puts people there's a lot of college students living in their cars and in rescue missions. And, my son lived in the rescue mission for a short time, and he works at the rescue mission. And he's a facilities manager there, and he helps so many people. They see so many people who want to get their lives back on track. But when you live on the street, it's very hard to get your life together and to make any progress or to study. Anyway, so I just think that if you're wondering what your niche is or who your partners are going to be or who your team is going to be and you're not sure who it is yet, it's okay. It's going to unfold. You have to put the effort in and meet people and go to networking events and talk to people. And then also self-evaluate, but I think it will unfold, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. Right. And then what else were we talking about? We're talking about God.
Oh yeah. It's been quite a 24-hour. I know. Today we were just thinking it was going to be a casual lunch, and then we'd go for a walk. And here I am in my casual, out going for a walk. And
we didn't go on a walk.
No, we ended up just chatting for so long at the cafe because there was just so much. It was like all these different topics. We talked about spirituality and where we're from, and excuse me, my alarm.
Oh, she has an alarm.
Yes. Okay. So there's a story behind the alarm, and this is I think this is also, Colleen, where part of the transformation that we were talking about, in the sense of doing things that we are meant to be doing in this life, what we're called to do. Yeah. So the alarm is a hack that I do to remind myself of the passing of time. So what's interesting is, even though growing up, I was always tested into like the GATE program or, honors programs or advanced training programs, I always felt like I was the dumbest kid in the class
Oh, you
because I
did?
felt like I could never learn. I mean, information was so fleeting where I just felt like, what the heck was wrong with my brain? And so it wasn't until very, very recently as an
Mhm.
adult and not even diagnosed. This is self-diagnosed here, just based off of information that I've been doing research on. I think I have, symptoms, or I experience symptoms of adult ADHD. And so one thing that I've recently been learning a lot about is time sensitivity.
Mhm.
And I'm even as I'm saying that right now, there's a phrase for how we perceive time. And so sometimes I can be very, very super hyper focused, and other times I can just be like all over the place and
Mhm.
can't keep track of time. So when I'm super hyper focused in doing work, I would set the alarm so that it kind of bounces me out of that um, hyper focus.
That's smart.
Yeah. And it also helps me to recognize as the day is going on
Mhm.
that time is also passing so that I can remember, oh, I had set certain milestones for today to accomplish. Because as an entrepreneur, you're responsible for your own, accomplishments and your own tasks and activities. Nobody's going to be there, saying, "Hey, Sue, did you do this?" Or
There's the deadline.
yeah, you're basically, very accountable to whether you succeed or whether, you do certain things. And so it was a way for me to um, remind myself that the afternoon is here, and what did you say that you would accomplish by a certain hour. So different things to really recall and remember things.
That's smart.
Yeah,
It's a reminder.
it's a reminder, but also something that I use to hack my um what is the motivation.
Mhm.
Yeah. And oh, hey.
Hi, gorgeous.
Hey.
We love
Oh,
you.
yes. Hello, Carly.
I love Carly so much.
Oh, I know, me too.
Carly, we need to have you on the show.
Yeah.
Carly, do you want to be on the Born to Be Brave show? What?
Yes. We'll have a conversation with Carly soon
Wouldn't
enough.
that be fun?
Yes.
Anyway, how did you get into like real estate? Like, how did you get into being an
Oh.
entrepreneur? What did you do before, and how did you get into this?
Oh my. So, yeah. So I started my career in public health. And at the time, I thought I wanted to go work for the CDC. This was a long time ago. And then for the CDC,
Mhm.
you actually have to have a master's degree. So I ended up getting a master's in healthcare administration. And during my healthcare journey, or I mean, my master's studies, I discovered that I wanted to be more into healthcare, in the healthcare space, and really, be able to have an impact there.
Mhm.
And so after a while, I felt like, gosh, I was making so much money for the business and I wasn't doing right by the people that I wanted to help, my whole reason for going into healthcare. So stepped away from healthcare, went to go do more studies in design and really tap into the creative side of my interests. And then a number of years ago, shortly before the pandemic, I thought I'd go back to healthcare. And that's where I had this idea of nutrition. Because when I was in healthcare, I was often seeing that we were really treating a lot of chronic illnesses. And prevention was the area that I was more focused in. So preventive care, preventive health care, in immunizations in pediatric and adult medicine, as well as senior care. So, like for example, osteoporosis screening, for seniors. And then I thought, gosh, schooling is so expensive these days. How do I finance it? So in comes real estate investing. And I never thought I would be there, because for years and years, I always thought real estate was just such a yucky place. There's like wheeling and dealing, and I just didn't identify with that, because it felt like it was such a taking it, well, back then the mindset that I saw real estate in was taking advantage of people. However, that was the mindset of that time, and also the mindset of where I was in my life at the time. And I think this is where part of our conversation earlier during lunch was how we've been able to transition through different periods in our lives, and also how our mindsets have changed
over time.
Over time, and through that journey of experiencing those different things. So when I was looking to go back to grad school, I needed to refresh some of my science grades. So I was taking classes and learning more about real estate investing. And so that's how I got into real estate. And actually, I was taking classes, and then I realized, holy cow, I had enough credits to sit for a license. So I took my exam and got my license, and then
your real estate license?
Yeah.
Oh wow.
So I'm licensed agent in California.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. And I hang my license with Real Brokerage. And the weekend after, that's when I found the Sub2 community. They were doing Elephant Challenge. And so it was a multifamily elephant challenge. And I had always known that I wanted to be in the multifamily side, because as much as I really enjoy single family and practicing single family, I always thought scaling would be much more optimal on the multifamily and the commercial side. And holy cow, Colleen, there's so many different streams of stories to even come out of that. Because years and years ago, I had thought that I would buy a strip mall, own a strip mall, do triple net lease. And remember how I was telling you during lunch that everything that I like goes out of style? Yeah. So this strip mall will have everything that's gone out of style that I absolutely adore.
That is so funny.
I mean, I'd be my own customer.
I love it, right?
I'm thinking, well, maybe there's other people out there like me that, like stuff like me.
Me? Yeah. Well, what's so funny is then did you first do syndication, or did you buy your own, or did you do fund of funds, or how did you get started?
So years ago, I tried to negotiate a seller finance deal, fell flat on my face, had no idea what I was doing.
Oh wow.
The agent laughed at me. It was quite an experience. In fact, it was here in Long Beach, not too far from where we are right now. And it was just a really eye-opening experience. It taught me that I had a lot to learn. But it was really cool.
At least you tried it.
Yeah, it was a really fun experience. And so that's where, when I found the Sub2 community in Hayes, I thought, this is exactly what I need to learn, seller finance, creative finance. And I wanted to get a little bit more into that. And so I did some wholesaling. I, did what most newbies do in the Sub2 community and or any real
Mhm.
estate community, is just really to get to know people, talk to people. So went to a ton of events, meetup events like the one we went to last night.
Yeah.
And
People should go to meetup events. If you're interested in real estate, you got to go meet people.
absolutely,
Mm-hmm.
because that's really where a lot of the connections are, and friends. Because when you're around the right type of people, it will inspire you to do more of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I never knew that until I met Pace's group, right? I didn't even know these kinds of things happen.
Yeah.
Right. And I thought I was in real estate. And Pace is like, if you're a realtor, you're not in real estate. You have a job in real estate, but you're not in real estate.
Yeah.
And I'm like, ooh, that's deep, right?
Yes. So yeah, I joined a wholesaling team, did a few, transactions that way, just, being part of the wholesale team. That was a lot of fun. It was a lot of work. Um, and at the time, there was also, different opportunities to grow in other areas. And so, ended up doing a fund of funds for a multifamily project. And so right now, this is where I would love to um, do co-living, really just, learn about that business model, because I find that real estate is one thing. Co-living is a business on top of real estate. So that's really where I feel like I can bridge both passion for helping and also to grow the foundation to continue to be financially sound so that we can do more things to help more people.
Can you, for our viewers that don't know what co-living is, can you just give them a brief introduction to co-living? Because I'm very interested in co-living too.
Yes.
Because we have a huge affordability crisis in America.
Yep.
And we have a lot of people that can't afford, it used to be everyone could afford to get an apartment and roommates, and the prices are out of control. And so tell us about co-living. So I think it's a great solution to help put a dent in the affordability crisis that we're experiencing here in America.
Yep. So co-living is the idea where you have a house. So ideally, it's like 6 to 7 bedrooms and like 3 bedrooms per bathroom, and it's a shared living space. So for example, dorm life. If you ever went to school, went to college, it's like dorm life where you have a room, but in co-living, it's a single room, and you just share the bathroom. So let's say, for example, in a house of 6 bedrooms, you have 6 roommates or housemates, 6 housemates, and then you share your bathroom with a few other people. Sometimes in co-living spaces, they'll divide specific bathrooms. In other situations where it's open, you can use any bathroom. It just really depends on the layout. But essentially, it's the idea of you pay a weekly rent, and it's a lot more affordable, and the entry is also a lot more accessible, because you don't have to do, like, for example, what you were saying earlier, Colleen, is 3 months of rent. Who has 3 months of rent saved up that you can use like that? That sometimes
it's crazy, and rent's so expensive now.
So let's just say, and I don't think this is even a rent that's viable for, say, a studio in Southern California, in Long Beach. What, $1,200? I mean,
no, rooms go for $1,200 now.
Yeah, exactly. So imagine if that's like times 3. That's a lot of money.
Yeah, and people, their income hasn't gone up at the rate that the rents have gone up, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
So
and then they share the kitchen.
Yep.
And the open space. And some co-livings have like someone come clean, right? And some don't. Some, the residents are in charge of it, but each person pays separately, so they're not all connected. So each room is separate, right? Yeah.
And it's really week by week. So if you are in a place where you want to, say, be temporary. You don't have to sign a lease. You're not bound by, a year lease or, like an extended period of time. It really just gives you that flexibility um, to be, flexible. I can't think of another way of saying it.
Well, you have the flexibility to you can move easily.
Yes.
You're not so tied down.
Yes.
I have a question. A thought just popped in my head. It's kind of not related, but what's the funniest thing that's ever happened while you've been in real estate? Has anything funny happened or?
Funny.
Yeah, I don't know. That thought just popped in my head. Like one time when I was showing property, so I was out with a buyer, and I had made an appointment to go see a house. We were in the house, and people live in the house, but they were not supposed to be home. And we walked into the bathroom, and it was a glass shower, and the guy was naked in the shower.
Oh.
And he was showering.
Oh,
and we both like, okay. And we walked out, and I texted the listing agent. I'm like, there's a naked guy. We left in the shower, so he might be upset. So, I don't know. It's just fun. I'm just thinking about funny things that have happened. You know what I'm saying? Like, because real estate can be so diverse, or hard things, too. Like, there's a lot of things that can be hard in real estate, too,
That's true. That's true. Yeah, actually the hard thing, and this is, I think, what was really instrumental in terms of like better learning self-awareness and better understanding who you are and where you are and what you're good at. And when I was working with our wholesaling team, just really recognizing that it was so draining to be on these calls to get to know your buyer. So I was on the disposition side. Disposition means that you are looking for buyers that would then pick up the deal or buy the deal from the team. And so I was calling and nurturing these relationships and finding out what people were interested in finding, what types of properties. Most of the people that we were working with were investors, and so they're busy professionals, and so they don't have time to sit there looking for different properties. So that really helped me to better understand my ADHD-ness. Is that, gosh, at the end of the day, I was just wiped out, and so I also would say that I'm an introvert, where I need downtime to re-energize. And it was wiped out more than just your average introvertedness, And so it really helped me to really refine where it is that I want to be on the real estate side,
Yeah, by trying something out that you didn't want to do, right? Because you don't want to be in dispo, right?
Right. I knew that I wanted to do wholesaling for a little bit to understand what that business is like, and just to better understand how to work with investors, and also what to look for.
Oh, excuse me. See, I'm yawning. And it's not because you're boring me. It's just because I went to bed very late last night.
Oh my goodness, we were hanging out really late last night. Yeah, in fact, I took a nap this morning after I.
That's so good.
Yeah, after I did my morning activities, and so
that was smart, because I took Kevin Cho to the airport at 5:50. We left here, and I went to bed at 2, and that's not my normal sleep pattern. So my body's like, girlfriend, what are you doing?
Yes, actually, I did too. I went to sleep at around 2 as well, and I was pretty exhausted.
So you learned about wholesaling, you did wholesaling, you did dispo, but you decided that's not for you. And I think we have to pivot, right? When we try things, when we go down a road, and I don't think we need to be hard on ourselves about it. It's just like, okay, I don't really like this, right?
Yeah, and through that process, you really learn to hone in on also what your skills are. Because when we're working in our community, we distinguish W-2 versus entrepreneur.
Mhm.
So while we're in our W-2, we also have transferable skills that are very helpful in the entrepreneurial space.
Yes.
And so it's identifying where you fit into, those different roles. But what's interesting though, Colleen, and that I come back to what I learned during that wholesaling experience is that I really enjoy helping people, and I really enjoy looking at deals and strategizing. I think what I needed to do was really to reevaluate how my energy or how the work and my energy were
Mm.
not compatible.
Mhm.
And that's where it's helpful to understand yourself. And so for me, coaching came in as something that was more aligned to my energy, because coaching, you're helping people. Coaching real estate, you can help on the topic of real estate. And when you're coaching, you have moments where you can time block. So you're not go, 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 go. Whereas in real estate, you're just like go, 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 call after call after call. So that was the difference for me that I noticed.
So did you quit wholesaling and then go into coaching?
I was doing them simultaneously.
Mm-hmm.
But what ended up happening with our coaching team is we ended up dissolving very naturally, because each of our partners, we also had other things going on. So we came together to work as a team, and then it just was very naturally that we dissolved because other projects that we were working on took off. So yeah, in fact, I still keep in touch with my wholesale partners all the time, and we were wholesaling out of Texas. Yeah.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah. Did you ever work with the wholesale team?
Mm-mm, not yet.
Yeah.
I've never tried that.
Yeah.
I've done real estate as a realtor.
Yeah.
And we own rental property, and then we invested in the sub 2 fund with Taze.
Oh. Uh-huh.
And then that's it.
Mm.
That's my big extravagant exposure.
Mm.
And now I do this. I'm going all in on YouTube.
Yes, yes. And in fact, when we were talking earlier, you had mentioned something about, tapping into our core and what it is that we are naturally born to do, our calling.
Yeah, I feel like most people, this is what I notice just in my life, is that most people are living below their divine potential. And I feel like, even like I watched an interview with Oprah with that guy, the happiness guy from Harvard. I can't remember his name, but he wrote for, I don't know if it was the Atlantic Observer. Anyway, he has books now too. He's very well known. But anyway, she was saying that every day she would ask God, what is help me fulfill my divine calling and serve you at my highest level every day, and help me to step into that, my divine purpose. And I was thinking that every person, what's his name?
Is it Arthur C. Brooks?
Yeah, Arthur Brooks. Yeah, teaches people all walks of life how to live a better, happier life. She wrote a book with him. He's a Harvard professor, but they wrote a book together. Build the Life You Want is the name of the book. I think, is it just his or is it hers too? Yeah, Oprah and him wrote it together. And thanks, babe. And I was thinking about that, and I feel like when you get those reoccurring thoughts in your head, they come to you, or thought like we were talking about. Let's talk about this book, like for a second. That example is, I was asking God, how can I make a bigger impact? How can you use me at a higher level? And he says, oh, you should become an author and a best-selling author. So I put a sticky note on my thing, best-selling author. And then I don't know if it was the next day or down the road within a week, though, I was watching our Dean Graciosi and Tony Robbins, and they were doing some kind of a coaching thing, this woman was speaking, and her name was Maya Komoroda, right? And thought came to me, you should hire her to be your coach and join her coaching program. So I did that. And it was pretty expensive, and I believe in being resourceful, and I didn't have the resources to do it. And so I sold my diamond tennis bracelet and my diamond Rolex.
Oh.
And I joined her coaching program. I went all in and listened to that voice, because that voice, I think we get scared and we think, oh, I can't afford that. But I think we should ask ourselves, how can I make that possible? And it doesn't even have to be money, because one time I had the money. I wanted to go to, I saw an ad on Facebook for Clever Investor, the summit, the first one in Vegas, or I don't know if it was the first one. It was the first one I went to. That's where I met Carly. And Pace. That's where I met Pace and Carly and all of them. But I saw an ad on Facebook for it, right? Just a Facebook ad. And the voice in my head, I call it God, Spirit, your higher power, whatever intuition. For me, it's God. Said, oh, you should go to that, right? And I'm like, okay. But then the day got away from me and I forgot about it, right? And then a couple weeks later, I saw an ad for it again. I'm like, oh, crap, I forgot to sign up for that. And I remember that voice said to do it. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to drop everything right now. I'm going to get the iPad. I'm going to sign up for it right now. And then it said it was sold out. And I'm like, crapola, right? So I had the money to go, but I couldn't go. So I'm like, okay, how can I be resourceful here? And so I messaged Cole Hatter, who was one of the guys that puts it on with Cody Sperber, and said, hey, I really wanted to come to your event, and it is sold out. Do you guys ever take volunteers? Because I would love to be a volunteer for your event.
Oh, that is so cool.
And he goes, my mom actually is in charge of volunteers, and here's her email. Reach out to her. I don't know where she's at with that. I'm like, perfect. I emailed her, and she said, well, we're full of volunteers. I'm ordering the t-shirts today. But do you kind of have the personality that could take direction and orders from a bunch of different people? And could you come a day early? You'd have to do some heavy lifting and set up merch and get everything ready. Would you be willing to do that? I said, I definitely have the personality that can handle that, right? And so she ordered me a shirt, and it's a long story, but then I was myself in the Facebook group, because she had a little Facebook group for all the volunteers, and I introduced myself, and they asked you to share, and then they said, oh, you know what? We actually think we're underutilizing your skill set. We think you should be the volunteer that they first see when they first come in.
Oh, amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That's so cool.
And so she goes, you don't need to come early. I said, well, I already bought my ticket, so come early. And I said, I'll come early. I was doing 75 hard at the time. I took all my food with me, and I had a place with the kitchen in it upstairs. And anyway, that's where I met Pace. I met Pace the day before when we were setting up, right? Him and Jamil came for a sound check. But I hadn't done my homework. I didn't know who Pace was. And I didn't know who the speakers were. But God, I did listen to the voice. I was resourceful. I got into the room, whether it's money or being creative, being resourceful. And I think that when we start listening to and trusting those thoughts that God puts in our heart and in our mind, and we take the imperfect action on them, other things unfold, because we don't always know what we don't know.
That's right.
And so I met Pace, but and Pace had 2,000 people at this event, and they all loved him, but I couldn't grasp what he did. It was very foreign to me. And I met awesome people like Carly and all these other awesome people. But what's interesting is I didn't sign up for any of it, and I just really didn't think too much of it. And the Pace was so amazing. The next morning I thought he was the first one to come into the hotel lobby, and I was directing people. And he literally said to me, so just remember, he met me the day before. He knows 1 million people. He saw 1 million people in that hotel, right? I don't know what all he did the night before. He comes in. He's the first person. It's very quiet in the hotel, at 6 a.m. in Vegas, 6:15 a.m. And he literally comes in, and he's like, good morning, Colleen. How was your night?
Oh.
Yeah, he remembers names.
Yes, he does. That's one of his superpowers, I think.
Yeah. And I was like, oh, my gosh, incredible. And then listening to God, because I'm writing a book on investing in real estate for women, and I thought it was all done, and I was praying about it, and God said, it's not done. How would people buy a house if they don't have good credit, or if they don't have 25% down? Or I'm like, I don't know how they do that. And he said, you know that guy that you thought is a scammer? Because I thought,
Oh.
I said, yeah, pays from. And he goes, yeah, you should do what he does. And so I called Carly and found out, because she had joined, right? I think her husband had joined sooner, and I got a affiliate link from her and joined the Sub2 community and got all in, right? And I do think that we have to put ourselves in uncomfortable situations. But I do think if you want to live a life that God has a calling for you, and a purpose-driven life, you have to give up the current you for the new you. And you have to be willing to trust in God and double down on your faith to take the imperfect action. And in Isaiah, in the Old Testament, 61, chapter 61, verse 3, I think it is. I'm not really a scriptorian. Oh, here comes another airplane. And literally it says that you trade your ashes for beauty. If you give God your ashes, he'll make them beautiful. Or give your sorrow to him, he'll make you joyful. And I feel like when we take our insecurities and our fears and our imposter syndrome and all the things that hold us back, or being an introvert or an extrovert or ADHD, or because I'm sure I'm all over the place. So I'm sure I have some of those tendencies, right? I have slight dyslexia. I turn numbers around all the time. So I'm always asking people, can you read back that number can I read that back to you to make sure I wrote it right? Because I mix things up all the time, or frequently, up until now. I like to say up until now, because it could change, right?
That's right.
Up until now, it could change. But I do think that we have to listen, right? We have to listen to those things. And when we have to have the courage to trust and realize we worship an abundant God and not have a scarcity mindset. And even like I had the idea when I started my YouTube channel again, that like I do the Science of Getting Rich. Is that book back here? Yeah, it's right here. Is this it? No, that's Working with the Law. That's this is the Science of Getting Rich, I think. Yeah, Science of Getting Rich book, right? This book is amazing. And Bob Proctor told Mary Morrissey that you should read chapters, is it 4, 11, 4, 7, 11, and 14 once a year, every day for 90 days to reset your subconscious mind about money and possibility and abundance. And so I'm like, you know what? I'm going to read that so I hear it in my own voice in my head, and I'm going to put it on my YouTube channel. I'm going to challenge other people to do it with me every year. And it helps us. Are you going to do it this year?
I'll do it.
Yeah, that's good. Anyone can do it, right? It's on our YouTube channel. I think, John's going to bring it up. Are you going to bring it up?
No, I'm going to put a link in.
Okay, he'll put a link in, yeah. Anyway, I just feel like when you start listening to your intuition, God, whatever you call that, right? Holy Spirit, Allah, Buddha, I don't know what it all is for everybody. But we all know what that is, right? Even like when I knew that Facebook ad was there, right? And then I'm like, oh crap, I was supposed to do that. I felt like I was supposed to do that. And then it's like, oh dang, it's sold out, right? So anyway, what else?
So talk a little bit more about that. The intuition, the voice, or the knowing that comes to you.
Okay.
How do you experience it?
So I had a grandma. Gosh, I've never told this to anyone. So I had a grandma that moved in with me when I was a kid, and she had a gift of praying about everything, right? And she would pray about who she should call, how much money she should give people, what she should do, right? And I don't remember too much about it, but I remember she did that, right? But as a kid, you don't think too much about it, right? But then I got older, and we had 3 kids, and then one of our kids got involved with drugs and alcohol and addiction, and it was way out of my league. How to parent that child, how to be the best parent, because I don't think you can parent every child the same. I feel like every kid comes with their own strengths and weaknesses and things they respond to and personalities and things they don't respond to. And I that's just my opinion. And just so you know, I'm not a parenting expert. Like I have 3 kids, and my only claim to fame is I didn't kill any of my kids. So I'm not don't look to me for parenting advice, but what I experienced was that I was in a situation, because prior to this, I would get promptings or things like let's say a good teacher of the spirit too for you is how to recognize how it works for you is when you don't listen and something goes wrong. Like I'll go back to, I'll pedal in a minute. Remind me to tell you about my other grandma. Okay. So with my son, I just wanted to make sure I was always doing the best thing in every situation as possible. And I feel like God's the ultimate parent, right? He's all our parents. And he's our heavenly Father in for my my beliefs. And so I wanted to know, did he think I should go into this house and try and drag him out? Should I send him to a rehab here? Should I go to this counselor or that counselor? Should I say something about this? Should I not say something about that? How should I approach this? And so I wanted instantaneous answers to those questions. I didn't want to find out and go do research or talk to other people. I didn't need an answer next week or next month or even tomorrow. I needed an answer right then. And I didn't have instantaneous answers to my prayers at that point. And I was just pouring my heart out to God one time and said, you must talk to somebody, two-way conversation, right? I said, I want you to teach me. I want to seek after that gift, because somewhere it says seek after the best gifts. I believe we all are born with spiritual gifts, but I think we can also develop spiritual gifts. And so I just started asking for that, spent more time in scripture. I eliminated negativity from my life, like violent movies, things that would offend the spirit. So I eliminated a lot of stuff. Also eliminated holding on to grudges and not forgiving people quickly, because that blocks you from the spirit, in my experience for me. And that was the hardest thing for me, because especially with my husband, sometimes I can get, I have red hair. And so sometimes I have that fiery personality and I can get really upset about stupid stuff and hold on to a grudge for nothing forever.
I got stuck on you have red hair.
Yeah.
I love your beautiful hair.
Uh-huh. Yeah, it's fiery.
Yeah.
It's my best feature. That's what I always tell people. I have really good hair. Yeah, isn't that fun?
Yes.
I come from a long line of redheads. My mom was a redhead. My grandma was a redhead. And I don't know about my great grandma. That's interesting, right?
Yeah.
So I had to let go of a lot of things, right? Spend more time with God and Jesus in scripture, church, temple attendance, but mostly really, and then not having the gift just work for me, like asking God, who do you want me to check on? Who can I serve for you? Who can I send a text to or a card or a meal? And kind of making it more for both of us, right? Not just for me. And then starting to realize that the thoughts in my head, because they are impressions that come in my head, and it comes in the form of a thought. And it is in my voice. And so differentiating my thoughts from the thoughts that I feel like are coming from God. And over time, but I'll give you an example. Sometimes when you don't act on it, then you start to realize, oh, that was a thought from God. So my Mason was a little boy, my middle son, and my daughter was 3. And he was baby. He was a brand new baby. And I was going out to Murrieta, which is about 15 minutes, I think, from here, and to see my dad and my grandma and grandpa and my stepmom. And my grandma and grandpa had come from Arizona or Las Vegas. I can't remember. Arizona, right? Anyway, my grandma was going to come because no one would really help me with our babies, and it was pretty overwhelming. And she said she would come stay with me for 2 weeks and help take care of the baby, to help me with the toddler and a baby, right? And I'm like, oh, thank heavens. But my dad's house was out in Murrieta, and they were at his house, and they wanted me to come spend Saturday out there. But it was really hard to get the baby and the toddler in the car. And I was running about an hour late. By the time I got everyone in the car, because I think Alexis had spilled some milk and Mason had a blowout, and it was just a big mess. And by the time I got into the car and I pulled out of the driveway, I got to the stop sign, and I had this thought in my head that said, you should go back and get your camera bag, because back in the day, we didn't have cell phones, right? My camera bag was this huge bag, and then my video camera bag was this huge bag, right? And I had that thought, you should go back and get that so you can get video and pictures with your grandma and grandpa, right? With the babies and the kid, right? With Mason and Alexis. And I'm like, oh, yeah, no way. I'm not turning around. I finally got in the car, right? I said no to the voice, right? I'll do it when they come tomorrow. She's going to be here for 2 weeks. Plenty of time to take pictures with her, right? I get halfway down the street, the next block on my street still, and the thought comes louder, go back and get your camera and your video camera, please. And I said, no way, I got plenty of time. I'm not turning around. You don't know how hard it was to get all of us in the car, right? I'm so late. I get to the stop sign at the end of the street. Go back, really loud, in my own voice, though, right? My own thought voice, what I hear myself talking, my own dialogue.
Yeah.
Go back right now and get the video camera bag and the camera bag. Okay, I did not do it. Okay, got on the big street, got on the freeway, and had a beautiful day. Right? Didn't think anything about it. Never even remembered about those promptings that came. Right? Those nudges. Right?
Okay.
The next morning is Sunday. It's church. John and I go to church. My grandma calls right before we leave and says, hey, we're going to come while you're in church. I said, great. I'll leave a key under the mat for you. And I said, I can't wait to see you. She goes, great. I'm just going to go get a donut and some coffee. And I'll see you in a few hours. And I said, great. And about, I don't know, 3, 4, or 5 minutes later, I don't know, not too soon after that, my phone rang again. And it was my dad, and he was crying. And I'd never heard my dad cry before. And he said, Grandma just died. Mm-hmm. She had a massive heart attack in the car with the car in reverse on her way out to go get the donuts and the coffee. See, God knew my grandma was going to die the next day, right? I didn't know my grandma. I thought I had time, and so I didn't go back. I didn't listen. So I didn't get pictures. Back then, we didn't have cell phones, right? And so I didn't get pictures with my kids with her. And I do really regret that. But I feel like sometimes those are powerful teaching moments because it made me realize God was talking to me in my own voice, in my head, in my thoughts. And I discounted it and I didn't do it. And so I got better at fine tuning and recognizing when God's talking to me. And I feel like we discount a lot of things that God puts in our heart and feel like, who am I to do this? And I do think that stepping into our divine power and our divine greatness is what it would be lovely if we all did that. And I feel like we'd all have more joy. But I do think that people are scared and are fearful. And so they don't do it. So that's kind of how it worked. And I've just gotten better and better. And now at this point in my life, God and I talk like two-way conversation like you and I do all the time. And I sometimes argue with him. I don't just always say, oh, yeah, I'd love to do that. Sometimes I'm telling like, are you on crack? I can't do that. That's a crazy idea, right?
Yeah.
So that, for me, that's how it works, right? And I do feel like that holding grudges at this point, because I don't watch anything that's pretty negative, but holding grudges or being contentious or not forgiving people is the thing that blocks me most from the Spirit and receiving that inspiration that comes for me. Yeah, and I think it's different for everyone, but I do actually believe that every person can cultivate that skill set and figure out how the Spirit speaks to them and fine tune it. It's kind of like in the olden days. I don't know how old you are, but when I was a kid, we had dial radios.
Yes,
right?
yes.
And like if you were off just a little, it was really fuzzy. You could still hear it a little, but it was fuzzy.
Yes.
But then when you got right on the right number, then it was nice and clear. But if you went off just another little bit, it was fuzzy. And I feel like it's how we can be with the Spirit, right? We can make the adjustments and just, be intentional with it and figure it out.
Yeah.
Do you have more questions about that?
Sure. Yeah, I love that story. That was just such a good story to illustrate how to really lean into what you're experiencing. Because oftentimes, I'll have nudgings or feelings that get stronger and stronger. And I'll probably think of an example similar to what you just shared right now about leaning into my creativity, my art, and coaching, because it's something that isn't necessarily nurtured when you're growing up in an Asian household.
Oh yeah.
Asian households all about, you got to be a doctor, you got to be a engineer or a lawyer or an accountant or professions that are perceived to be very stable, that are perceived to give you that sense of security.
Prestigious.
Yes.
bring honor to your family.
Yes. Yeah. And,
Mhm.
So in my family, I mean, in particular, it was find a profession where you don't have to struggle so hard
Mhm.
because, you know, from, our parents, they wanted to make sure that we were safe and stable and secure in all the, like the Maslow's hierarchy of needs.
Yeah.
The bottom. They wanted to make sure that we had our foundation set.
And
So-
and they didn't want you to struggle like they did.
Yes.
Right?
Exactly.
They did not want you to struggle. You guys are not just immigrants, but you're refugees, right?
Yeah.
And they overcame a lot, right?
Yeah.
And they did not want that for you.
Yeah.
They wanted a better life for you, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, it was lots of understanding intuition. Yeah.
Mhm.
And so I didn't grow up with understanding scripture
Mm-hmm.
or
Yeah.
the Bible.
Mhm.
And so for me, I think as an adult, learning more about my spirituality, learning more about what it means to tap into that intuition
Mhm.
has been such an amazing learning experience. Yeah.
What's the best part of it?
Man. I just, when you said that, love popped into my head.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's good. It's all about love.
Yes,
Mm-hmm.
totally, because it feels like oftentimes when we have love, it helps to ease things. And then if I look back and I think about the challenges that I've had, whether they be emotional or experiential, it all came back to that essence of love.
Mm-hmm.
You
Because
know?
God is love,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
God is love.
yeah.
And I think that when we're more loving,
Yes.
we're more in tune.
Yes.
And we're more aware. Like today we met Eric, right?
Yeah.
And we were walking along, right?
Yes.
And there was a homeless, unhoused. I've been schooled by my son. Anyway, there was a gentleman that was living on the corner, right? And he asked for help, and so I asked Eric his name and just a little bit about his situation and if he was open to um, getting off the streets, right? And what his situation was, and he's not open to that right now. But we connected with them, Sue and I, and I think he could feel our love and concern for him. What do you think?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah,
Mhm.
it was a warm conversation. I mean, we had a chance to chat with him to understand where he was coming from, what his experience has been like, what his thoughts are, and really, to sit there and listen to where he's coming from, and sometimes I think life is just so busy, things
Mhm.
whizzing by, passing by, that when we take that moment to pause, to observe our surroundings. I mean, we were crossing the street, and Colleen sees this man and stops, and um, has a conversation with him, introduces herself, and asks him questions. And here we are, the three of us, then start having a conversation, and it was so amazing. Yeah, that definitely. There was a warmness to
Mhm.
everything going on. Yeah.
Yeah, because Heavenly Father said, "Oh, you should stop and talk to him." I'm like, "Okay," and so I did. And it's interesting. I was in Salt Lake Airport. Was that 2 weeks ago? Go ahead.
Before you say anything, can I
Mhm.
also let our audience know that it was just so incredible. You and I were in conversation when we came upon Eric,
Mhm.
and it was, I love how you just said that you got a message to stop and talk to him, because that's exactly what happened. We were in deep conversation, and then
Yeah.
you received the message, and she looked over and she saw him and said, "Hi, what is your name?"
Mhm.
And it was just so seamless. And it wasn't like there was even a skipped beat, you know. Um, in terms of like the conversation with Eric, and then how Colleen and I just went back into conversation shortly after we exited
Right?
the conversation with Eric. Yeah,
Right back where we were.
exactly.
Mhm.
So, yeah, I thought that was so neat that it all unfolded that way. So, in essence, the message you got was truly a message of stop and pause and let's, you know, um, understand who this person is and share some love
with him in the moment.
Yeah.
Especially the unhoused people, the people on the margins, especially people that are not housed. They're like they've taken themselves out of society, and then society doesn't recognize them. They just walk by them and ignore them, and for whatever reason. But they're becoming. My son Mason tells me they become invisible, right? And I love that they don't have to be. And I'm not saying you should go up to every single person because there's safety issues and concerns. So just always be aware of your surroundings and pay attention. But I do think that I'm asking God more often. Now, I asked him this morning who to check on and what to do. But we were in Salt Lake coming home from a wedding for my niece, our niece, not my niece, our niece. And I'm making sure I say our instead of my more often because John died been married
It's all
36 years.
yours.
Yeah. 36 years. It's definitely our niece. I'll be like, that's your friend. And John's like, that's our friend. Oh yeah, that's our friend. We've been friends with them for 36 years now. So I guess it's my friend too. Because it's someone he knew from before. I'm like, oh, that's your friend. That's John's friend. It's like John's like, that's your friend. I'm like, oh yeah. 37 years of being friends with this person. Of course, they're my friend now too. But it's so funny is I just asked God because I didn't really have much to do with that in that moment. I just said, is there anyone, that needs help here? Is there someone I could help here? And he said, yeah, that guy's crying right over there, in the terminal. And he was, there was a guy crying. And both seats, of course, on both sides of him were empty because no one wanted to sit there. He was a grown man, 31 years old. Same age as one of my kids. And I just sat down and I put my hand on him. And I said, hi, I'm Colleen. I said, you want to tell me about it? What's going on? And we just started talking, right? And I'm friends with him now. And he had a lot going on, a lot. And I just think when we're aware, and we have to be willing to insert ourselves into people's lives. For brief moments of time or whatever. But I believe that we're all connected and that that God, we can be, we choose the kind of relationship we have with God and Christ. How you cannot have a relationship with someone you don't spend time with. And I have a saying in our household, love is spelled Time. And you have to spend time with people to have a relationship with them. And it's something that
I love that.
Yeah, it's good, right? Yeah, because someone was trying to tell my son what he should do with his life that is a close relative, but they don't spend time with him, and they were lecturing him on how to be. And I thought there's no impact there because they don't spend time with him. So they don't have that close relationship. And so if you want to, and if you're coming from a place of judgment and thinking, whenever you say should or could, it's a criticism. And when we just love people purely and accept them for where they are, and we can have boundaries if we don't like how people are behaving or the way they are, then we can spend less time with them, right? We can limit our interaction with them or cut them out altogether. It's all that's between you and God and what your comfort level is, right? But I do think that when we come from love, I think it matters a lot. And I think God wants to talk to all of us. No, I don't think that. I know that, right? I just really believe that he always has his hand stretched out, and we're the ones that kind of determine the level of relationship we have with him and how much we're going to believe in him, because it can be really scary to say, oh, I'm gonna be a keynote speaker, I'm gonna do YouTube, or I'm gonna be an investor, right? Or I'm gonna buy properties creatively, or I'm gonna help all these people. it's I think we have to become comfortable being uncomfortable.
Mhm.
And then I love Jerry Norton, who's a huge wholesaler and real estate guy. At community camp in Montana, which was Pace's event and his event, not this year, but last year. The one thing I remember, because I always try to have like one nugget, like you have all those speakers, but I like to always have like, what's the one thing I'm going to implement from this, right? And that he said that the better you are at risk tolerance, the more you can increase it, the better your income will go up, right?
Yes.
And so I love that nugget. And in fact, at in Hollywood, Florida, the guy Patrick Bet David's book,
Oh, yes.
I love him.
Oh.
I mean, at his
Yeah.
talk there, I don't follow him, so I
Okay.
never had heard of. I kind of heard of him, but I didn't know. But what I don't remember, the only thing I remember at his talk, is he said he saw a lot of women cutting their husbands down and cutting off at the knees and being rude and disrespectful to their husbands, even in front of like him or other people. And it made me think, I need to take inventory on how I treat my husband and up level that and make sure that I'm not too casual or comfortable after 36 years of marriage, and make sure that I'm always building him up. And I put in my phone that it says now John, beloved husband, to remind me he's my beloved, and to just make sure that that there's that level of respect. And sometimes I've been guilty of being unkind and talking rude and short and disrespectful to John. And so I thought, ooh, that's something I could really, infuse into my life.
Right.
Oh, anyway, what else do you want to talk about?
Yeah.
Okay, bye, babe. John's leaving us. He's got to go run in there really quick, pick up our son.
Yeah. There's so what I through this whole conversation, one thing that I'm continuing to noodle on in the back of my mind is you and we've gone through this journey. How do we share with others who are interested in going through a journey like this? If I were to think back, what my mindset was even just a few years ago, I was exiting a very toxic work environment at a W-2.
Mm-hmm.
And what it required was to acknowledge myself, to love myself. Self-care.
That was powerful.
Self-care was huge. To really find time to be okay with who I am, and just to say that you are enough, and to really sit into that love for self first. Because I find that if you can't love yourself first, it's harder to love another. And when you were, talking about your experience with your husband, it made me think of that. I mean, I'm not.
I love that.
I'm not in a relationship myself, but I'm thinking, for me, I would want to continue loving myself more and more, so that my cup is full, loving me, so that whatever is left, I can pour into another person. And that's a thought that's been really in the back of my mind for, here goes my alarm again.
I love our alarm. This is good. I don't have any alarms. I don't even set an alarm for the morning. That's awesome.
Yeah, it's to let us know, hey, we've been chatting for an hour.
Yeah, we've been here an hour. We have been here an hour.
I know. The minutes have flown by. It's been so quick.
Gosh. So what you just said is a scripture. Did you know that?
I was trying to think back how.
That's the New Testament.
Is it?
Mm-hmm.
Because I have been asking a lot of friends who are very well versed in the Bible and to share with me scripture that that they love. And so, I've been reading that, and also just learning and listening to a lot of other people who share wisdom from their lives. And it definitely isn't something that
I'm typing it in to try and find it.
that's, I just came up with on the spot. It's, just nuggets of wisdom that I've been learning through others over the past couple of years in terms of healing that inner, the
Yourself.
inner world,
Mhm.
coming out of that really.
Your inner dialogue and your self-identity.
Yes, exactly. Because I realized that as much as I love my last work company,
Mhm.
it was an environment that was not healthy, and it was an environment that was bringing back a lot of also unhealthy experiences and unhealthy mindsets that we just shove down deep inside in our subconscious when we're in this like very fast-paced go gotta
World.
get done,
Mhm.
gotta get this, gotta get that. We forget to pause and to heal those inner wounds. And it's not until we recognize and give love to it
Mhm.
that it starts to heal. And yeah, so what I'm saying right now is all wisdom that I've been learning from others. I can't quite recall who I heard it from. Some of it is from the Bible, some of it is from, just other
Wisdom.
others speaking wisdom into how they've been able to grow and learn and, be where they are today. Um, I'm just such a learning junkie.
But isn't that fun?
I love it. I love learning wisdom from people, from just, oh man, the internet is just rife with learning. And this is also going back to your point earlier, Colleen, about taking out things that are not fulfilling your soul,
Mhm.
limiting your interaction with things that doesn't feed you.
Yeah. Because it's interesting that you say that because I was taking inventory this last quarter, going into fourth quarter here. Because I try to plan things out by quarter.
Me too.
You too, yeah. And it's interesting is I was doing some self-reflection and I noticed that I have an unhealthy relationship with sugar. And I asked God, how come I can say no to alcohol, cigarettes, drugs? I'm allergic to gluten, like I carry an EpiPen, like I'm celiac, I'm very allergic. So if anyone offered me a cigarette, alcohol, gluten, any of those things, I would never even consider consuming them because I know that they're toxic and poisonous for my body and it would be very harmful to my physical well-being, right? And it's interesting. I said, so how come every day I say I'm not going to eat ice cream, but then every day I eat ice cream, right? And so God told me, for me, this is what he told me. He says, you look at ice cream as a treat, or cookies as a treat, or chocolate as a treat, right? Or, cheesecake, whatever it is, right? He says, you classify it as a treat, but really it's poisonous for you.
Yes.
And it's very bad for you, right? Because anyway, I won't get into that. This is just my opinion and my experience where I'm at right now. I'm being very transparent. And so he said, if you could start viewing sugar as poison instead of a treat, it would be a lot different, right? And it's interesting how new habits form. So I decided, okay, I'm going to do 1 week at a time. Because I found without sugar, like 7 months at a time. And I'm talking about processed sugar. I'm not talking about fruit. I'm not talking about, but I am talking about it as an ingredient in stuff too, Like today I had ketchup and that probably had sugar in it. And but I'm being pretty careful with the dressings and the seasonings, and because sugar is in just so many things, they've made our food so addictive. And so I decided to go a week, and I have in my private Facebook group, it's called Born to Be Brave. There's, I think, four of us are doing it together. We're just doing a week at a time because it's just easier. Because I for sure want to have Thanksgiving pumpkin pie with ice cream, and at Christmas there's some stuff I really want to, right? So I don't want to do like 6 months or 3 months. Like I'm definitely, But it's interesting that even on day 3 or 4 this week, last week, I was at my nephew's farewell for his mission thing, and they had a breakfast after. And my sister-in-law was so thoughtful. She got me a gluten-free muffin, and I thought, oh, she's so sweet, right? But I didn't read the ingredients, you know.
Oh, is it sugar?
Oh yeah, of course. And I was halfway through eating it. This is on day 3, right? Halfway through eating, I'm like, this is so delicious. I bet it had sugar. And I had this epiphany because it was like a cinnamon gluten-free thing from Trader Joe's that was like the cinnamon coffee cake type thing, you know, like, I mean, it was like so yummy. And I'm like, oh, crap. So I finished eating it. I'm like, okay, back on track, but I can't count that day, right? And so I started over. And then in the group, I posted, hey guys, I had sugar today. I'm human, and we're going to have human moments, right? And I think we got to give ourselves grace and love ourselves and just realize I'm human. I didn't like, my intention that day wasn't to do that, but I was like, oh, that was so nice of her, right? And it was really yummy, I have to say, right? But I just feel like when we weed out things, right? And I feel like negativity is something, or feeling like, I sometimes tell myself up until now, and I don't say this anymore, but it's something I used to tell myself is, who am I I'm 57 years old. Who am I to start interviewing people and doing this stuff? Do you know what I'm saying? Like, who am I, right? Well, who am I not to, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I think we have to let go of some of these things, or like, you know, people say like, are you crazy? Why would you do that? And I'm just like, I am crazy. Like, of course. But I do think we have to give up the things that no longer serve us well. And it might even be money stories. Like, I really feel like a lot of people, and what does your idea of success look like?
Yes.
Right?
Exactly.
Yeah, because I don't want to be a workaholic. That's the one thing Kevin Cho said. You know, I worked around the clock to be where I was. He goes, I'm not working on the weekends, and I'm setting the limit 6 o'clock. I'm done. And so what does that look like?
Self-care.
Self-care. Right? And loving yourself. When you look at yourself in the mirror, are you cheerleading and being nice and encouraging yourself? Or are you beating yourself up, right? And going, oh, there's a wrinkle, there's this, there's that. Like, I beat myself up before this because I'm like, I don't like this shirt. I don't like the way I looked in this camera thing. And so we just have to be nice to ourselves. And I think self-care is so important. I'm going to find the scripture, or if someone has their scriptures, you can look it up. It's in the New Testament. But Jesus said, love your neighbors, you love yourself.
Okay.
And people forget the loving yourself part. Yes. Well, how do you love yourself, right?
Yes.
And I think it's people forget about that. And that's the good thing. You don't have to remember everything to get on TV and talk like this, because I can't remember a lot. I study a lot, but I can't remember. But when you love yourself and you take time, and self-care is different for everyone. Like, I like to go get a massage. I like to go walk on the beach. I like to take a nap. I like to sit and watch Gilmore Girls in bed with my warm, fuzzy socks, and, you know, and so it's different for everyone, right? I love to be with my grandkids, right? And my friends, and I like to go for a walk, and in the summer, I love to swim. But it could be getting a manicure, pedicure. It could be just meditating and sitting and being quiet, or going back to sleep because you know you need more sleep.
Yep. Exactly. Really listening to what the body needs. Yeah. And both body and mind, because part of my own healing journey was recognizing that there was a lot of repetitive thoughts going on in the head, that it's not until you pause to really acknowledge that they're there that you really even see it. But you feel it because you might either feel anxious or you feel agitated. And it's just that, you know, it's the mind and body connection that is all in tune. So when we have the awareness to heal the body, to exercise the body, it's also to pause the brain and to let the brain decompress. You know, we have so many thoughts in our minds all the time that if we don't slow down to allow it to decompress, it also can build up, and it builds up and expresses itself in many different ways, you know, through anger, through frustration, through just, you know,
disease.
Yes. disease. Yep.
our
Yep.
bodies, we would never go a week or 2 or 3 without food, right?
Mhm.
You would die.
Mhm.
And it's the same with our spirit and our mind. We need to feed them all the time good things. And we need to nourish them and spend time doing positive things and feeding our mind positive things and our spirit positive spirituality things. And the other thing is that when I used to do retreats and coaching, that is what I used to teach people.
Mhm.
How to stop the automatic negative thoughts, right?
Yes.
Ants. That's
Yes.
what Dr. Amen calls them, ants,
Yes.
automatic negative thoughts.
Love that.
Because you can't control the first thought, but you can control
Right.
the second, third, and fourth,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
And sometime we'll have to go into that another time. But and then the other reason that it causes problems for you is because we're 70% water, our bodies.
Yeah. Yeah.
And Dr. Emoto, have you ever seen his videos? He's a Japanese doctor, scientist.
Is he the one that studied water?
Water
Yes.
and rice.
Yes. That is fascinating work.
Yeah,
It
so
is
I always show
fascinating.
that when I do a keynote speech, if it's about, appropriate to the subject
Yeah.
and for retreats and
Yeah.
stuff, because your words and your thoughts
Yes.
impact your body.
Yeah.
And so if you're 70% water and you're talking negatively to yourself all the time, you're causing disease in your body.
Yep.
And so it's really important, not just because it's good for you mentally, but because it's bad for you, like for your body.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, interesting,
Totally.
right?
Very, very much so. Very fascinating.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm thinking, Colleen, because we've been chatting for some time now, and we've just skimmed
The surface.
the
Do you want to do it
surface
again?
of the what is that big thing that they call glacier?
Mhm. Yeah, right.
Yeah, and we haven't even had a chance to touch on exploring dreams of possibilities.
Oh yeah, we didn't even talk about that. And that was our subtitle.
Yeah, because that's really where our conversation started. Is all the different things that we've done up into our lives until now,
Mm-hmm.
and how we can continue to grow and expand and dream about possibilities. And the thing is, though, one of the things we were talking about over lunch is that you can't dream of possibilities and you can't go there until you are healthy and well.
It's
inside.
crucial.
Yeah. So it's
Yeah.
like the first step, and that's like additional steps.
Yeah, and we're both pondering and considering what is the unfolding for us, right? Because I'm considering coaching. I'm considering, should I do multifamily or maybe team up and help with co-living with this certain population, right? And I feel like and I for sure am doing YouTube. I'm all in on that. And I just feel like the possibilities are endless, but what do we focus on, right? And I'm going to finish my book. And I don't know. Let's do this again. Do you want to do it again?
Yes, part 2.
Yeah, we'll do part 2,
Part
you
2.
guys. Did you guys have any questions for us? I don't know if there was any comments. John's gone, so it's hard for me to see. I don't know.
We lost our tech guy.
Yeah, we lost our tech guy. I don't know. John, I think someone said something earlier, but I don't know how to get to that, and I'm a little nervous to touch anything. I want to just say one thing. Thank you for joining us. And then thank you for joining us, Sue.
Oh,
this was awesome. I just had this.
Thank you. This has been so much fun.
Wasn't this fun?
Such a blast. Yes.
Yes, we were at lunch and I'm like, we should go home and make a video. She's like, yeah, let's do it.
Yes.
So that was fun. And so listen to your reoccurring thoughts. Be a little kinder to yourself. Ask God, maybe what is the thing that's on that He would like you to do, right? And then how can you maybe fine tune your relationship with the Spirit, right? And how can you live more in your divine purpose, right? And I feel like that's all changing too. That there's not like one divine purpose. Every day it could be something, it can change and evolve. And I have 2 life sayings that this isn't your practice life. You should do what you love. Do what you love now, because we don't know if we have tomorrow. Just like my grandma died, right? The next morning, I didn't get a picture of her with my kids. I thought I had 2 weeks with her. I had nothing. And then the other thing is, my other saying is, miracles are my normal. Everything's always working out for me.
Yes.
And that's my big life motto. And even when it looks like it's not working out for you, it is working out for you, because we have to learn to trust in God and His timing. And I have a saying, one time when my son was flatlining and was really sick, he had sepsis and Klebsiella and all these other problems, and he wasn't doing well. And they couldn't get him stable. And I was yelling at God in my head about, why are you trying to take my son? And I've shared this before, but God put me right in my place. He's like, he's not your son. He's on loan to you. And you're talking really rude and disrespectful to me. And you're not saying thy will be done. And so we have to also realize our place in all of this. And we don't worship a vending machine God. We don't get to tell God, this is what I want and expect it's going to come out like when you put in, 1A and 75 cents in a vending machine. And so I think that we work in partnership with him, but we don't tell God what to do. And I've done it plenty of times. I've told him all kinds of disrespectful things, right? But I also have known my place and have repented, sometimes slower than others. But I just want to invite you to look at yourself, look at what's going to bring you some joy. Believe in yourself. Feel like you're worthy, like you were saying. You are enough, like Sue was saying. And I hope you'll like and subscribe to my channel. I really am looking. Yeah, hit the like and
Right there.
subscribe
Somewhere down
Yeah,
here.
we don't know where it is. And then share this video and join us again. I'm getting really consistent. This is my 4th interview this week. And there's a lot more to come. We're going to do part 2 and a lot of other awesome people. Last night, I think 8 or 10 people that are phenomenal human beings said they would be on the show.
Yay.
And I really believe you were born to be brave. And I hope you'll have the courage to step into the life you love. So anyway, thanks for joining us. Do you have any final thoughts you want to say?
Oh, thank you so much, Colleen. This has been such a pleasure to have this conversation with you. It's been so much fun, and I can't wait for our next conversation. And I hope our audience joins us for part 2.
Yeah, we would love that. This was so dang fun, right? You guys, and this is only the third time I've seen you, right? In real life.
Yeah.
I mean, I've seen you in virtual.
Yes, I know. We see each other at real estate events. Yeah. In fact, multifamily is where
That's where we first met.
Yeah, at Vina
Vina's
Jetties.
Jetties.
Yeah, Vina Jetties multifamily meetup.
In the cold rain outside.
Yeah. Yes, it was a lot of fun. Yeah. Actually, no, that was the second time.
Was that the second time?
The first time was in the beautiful park. Somewhere in Orange
Oh
County.
yeah, summer Vina's open house.
Yeah.
And her thing, that was
Yes.
nice. That was in some park. I don't know where that was.
Yeah.
I just put it in my GPS. That was like one of the first things I'd ever been to.
Oh, it was. Yeah.
I didn't know anyone there.
It was a lot of fun there.
I forgot about that.
Yeah.
That's a good memory. She's smart, you guys.
Oh no,
That was good.
Pulling out memories from different corners of the noggin up here.
Yeah, that's
But
right.
yeah, so next time we'll talk more about multifamily and how we're growing that space as well, and lots of dreaming of lots of possibilities for future to come.
Yeah, which is exciting. So
Yes.
come join us and see the unfolding of it. And so
Yes.
look, anyone can do this, you guys, because I'm up until now been technologically challenged. I'm like, I'm going to end this myself.
Bye.
Bye, guys. And then we're going to end now.